Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Tuesday, August the 6th. We're going to look at Tuesday's full 15-game slate. Start off with pitching, work our way through the pitcher-player pool. I'll be sure to hit on all the pitchers that I like for today. Then we'll look at 3 specific hitters that I really like. We'll talk about some stacks I'll be going to, and then towards the end of the video, we'll look at some BVP plays as well. But before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so that way you don't miss out on any of my new videos. But starting off at the top of the pitcher-player pool, Clayton Kershaw is our most expensive option on DraftKings today. He's $11,800 in a matchup at home against the Cardinals. I really don't have much interest in Kershaw here. He's been good this year. He's just been Clayton Kershaw, pretty good pitcher. Gets decent amount of strikeouts, but really not an elite strikeout pitcher. But this isn't the best matchup against the Cardinals. They're starting to get healthy again. They have Matt Carpenter back. They have Marcell Ozuna back. So I just don't think I need to pay $11,800 for a guy like Clayton Kershaw, especially when Zach Wheeler is at home and facing the Marlins and it's $1,200 less. Zach Wheeler is going to be my number one guy for today. Love this spot for Wheeler. Just such a good matchup facing the Marlins. He's already pitched against them once this year and dominated 7 innings, did allow 9 hits and 2 runs, but got 11 strikeouts, had 31 DraftKings points earlier this year when he faced the Marlins. Now he gets them at home. They have a low total, one of the lower totals on the slate at 3.4 implied runs. Wheeler, a pretty heavy favorite at minus 190. We know how bad this Marlins lineup is. There are some strikeouts in this Marlins lineup. It's going to be a right-handed heavy lineup as well. Just a really good spot for Wheeler. And the fact that he's so much cheaper than Kershaw, even cheaper than Barrios against the Braves. Wheeler by far the best option on the slate in my opinion at 10-6. I would say my next favorite guy is definitely Zach Greinke. I do like Greinke a lot here, pitching at home, his debut for the Astros, pitching against the Rockies. Pretty favorable spot facing the Rockies outside of Coors Field. He has faced them a lot this year when he was with the Diamondbacks. He faced them 4 times. He was okay in some starts. Some starts he struggled. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with Coors Field. When you get the Rockies outside of Coors Field, they're definitely a team you can attack with opposing pitchers, especially a really good pitcher like Zach Greinke. Greinke, I think, is a guy that Houston can turn into like a strikeout pitcher. Greinke hasn't been much of a strikeout pitcher this year, like elite strikeout pitcher. But we saw how they were able to show Aaron Sanchez the way. I mean, Aaron Sanchez, only 1 start, but he was pretty good in his first start with the Astros. I think we're going to see Greinke start to get more strikeouts. Working with this Houston pitching staff. Houston's pitching staff is by far the best in the league. They turned Garrett Cole into an elite strikeout arm, whereas he used to not be that much of a strikeout pitcher. I do like Greinke here at 9,800. He's definitely going to be number 2 behind Wheeler for me today. But I play multiple lineups, so I will have some exposure to Zach Greinke. Definitely not going all in on Wheeler. And if there's a way you can play Wheeler and Greinke together, if you can find a cheap stack, you can definitely look to do that as well. But once you get past Greinke, it really falls off. There's not much that I really like once you get past Greinke. I would say my next favorite guy would probably be like Lamet against the Mariners, but Lamet doesn't feel like a guy I need to pay $8,500 for on a slate like this. So once you get past Greinke, I'm really looking to like the mid-range. The guy that stands out to me as a mid-range arm that you can pair with your expensive pitcher, your SP1, Zach Plesac. I do like Plesac at $7,700 here, pitching at home against the Rangers. Now this is a Rangers team that I do like to target with opposing pitchers, especially when they're away from Globe Life Park. They're going to be on the road here facing the Indians. Pretty low total for the Rangers right now, 4.3 implied run total. Plesac a pretty heavy favorite at minus 182. With Ariel Gerardo pitching for the Rangers, I do expect the Indians are going to be able to give Plesac some run support. I like the Indians a lot today as a potential stack you could go to. But given Plesac's matchup against the Rangers, a team that does strike out versus right-handed pitching, they do strike out more versus lefties than righties, but still you can get some Ks in this lineup against righties. And Plesac, for what it's worth, he's faced this team already once this year and did pretty well. Went 7 innings. He pitched against them in Texas. Went 7 innings, allowed 2 hits, 1 run. He didn't get a ton of strikeouts, I don't think. Got 6 strikeouts, 25 DraftKings points. Plesac's been okay this year. He has struggled at times, like against Detroit. I'm not sure. That might have been a relief appearance. He only pitched 3 innings. But against Houston in his last start, He did struggle, but that kind of makes sense because Houston's such a good lineup and they're fully healthy now. Against Baltimore, he really struggled, which was kind of a surprise. Against Kansas City, not sure if that was a relief appearance or not, but he only pitched 2 innings in that start. But when he has started this year, he's been okay, especially when he gets the right matchup. He can definitely produce for you, and this is a pretty good spot, in my opinion, pitching at home against the Rangers. So please ask the guy that I like for an SP2 today. There's a lot of good options at the top with Wheeler and Greinke, maybe like Lamet you could go to, but once you get past that, there's not much to like when it comes to value. Like you have like Yamamoto against the Mets you could possibly consider. Maybe Menez against the Nationals pitching at home in San Francisco. We do like that ballpark. On the other side, maybe Anibal Sanchez against the Giants you could potentially look to, but these guys are priced up. They're 8K, like 8K for Sanchez, 7,200 for Menez, even 7,400 for Yamamoto. These guys are all going to be sort of secondary options to please at for me. But trying to find really cheap value, there's not much that I like down here. Like just not a lot of good spots. Like Arrieta against the Diamondbacks, maybe you could go there. Chase Anderson against the Pirates, you could potentially consider. Cashner against the Royals, I feel like is going to be a guy that people go to. Cashner so far with the Red Sox hasn't been that good. He's made a couple starts against Baltimore. He was decent. Against the Yankees, he was decent. Got blown up in his last start against Tampa Bay. I believe he did pitch against the Blue Jays as well before he got traded. Not sure about that, but Cashner just kind of a mediocre pitcher. Obviously, this is a great matchup, though, against the Royals. The Royals are not that good of a lineup. Once you get past the top 4 hitters, there's a lot of easy outs, 5 through 9. Cashner's a very heavy favorite, so I guess if you're going cheap, Cashner's probably the best option you can consider. At 5,800, he is very cheap. He allows you to pay up for expensive bats. So if you want to go there, I could see it. Not going to be a core play for me, but I will probably have Cashner in my player pool, and if I get some exposure to him, I'm okay with it. He's so cheap, and the matchup's pretty good against the Royals. But past Cashner, there's not much that I like. Definitely just going to be going to Cashner as my cheap arm. But now let's go ahead and talk about some bats. I do want to start off with the Indians. The Indians are going to be a team that I look to a lot today. 5.8 implied run total versus Ariel Gerardo. Gerardo has really struggled lately, been giving up a lot of home runs. This Indians team, now they have Puig and Franmil Reyes. They have a ton of power in their lineup. They already had some power in their lineup to begin with, but adding Puig and Reyes just gives you more power. And Puig and Reyes are 2 guys I really like today, especially Puig. Puig's 4,400 on DraftKings. He's going to be a guy that I look to a lot in my Indian stacks. Has a lot of power versus right-handed pitchers. Gerardo's actually struggled more to righties this year than lefties, if I'm not mistaken. Been giving up a lot of power to righties, and we know how much power Puig has from the right side. Same can be said for Franmil Reyes, has a lot of power. Ramirez has some power. Santana, Mercado, Lindor, all those guys can hit home runs, so even like Jason Kipnis and Perez at the bottom have power as well. Just a really good stack in my opinion. They're not that cheap. You're definitely going to have to pay for them. Like you got a couple hitters over 5K. Mercado's 4,900, but like the 2 guys that really stand out are definitely Puig at 4,400 and Reyes at 4,100. Those are 2 guys I like quite a bit today. So I do want to talk about Jose Ramirez, though, at third base. I think he's going to be a guy I look to a lot in my Indian stacks. Even though Gerardo's been giving up a lot of home runs to righties, he can still get hit by lefties as well. Jose Ramirez has been much better lately. We saw, like, to begin the year, this dude was terrible. He just couldn't hit the ball, was striking out a lot. That hasn't been the case lately. He's been heating up and hitting the ball better. Up to a 241 average, has 14 home runs. Still a guy that will steal a ton of bases. He's always had speed. Already stole 22 bases this year. So Ramirez just kind of gives you a lot of upside at a third base position. Just gives you the full package, power, speed, can get on base. I really like Ramirez and Puig from the Indians today. But guys like Lindor, Mercado, Santana, Franmil Reyes, even Kipnis, I'm going to have some exposure to those guys as well. Definitely going to be having a lot of 5-man Indian stacks. But now a team I want to talk about that maybe you could consider for value, a cheap team, I think is the Tigers here versus Hector Santiago. 5.2 implied run total right now for the Tigers. They have a ton of value in their lineup, and Hector Santiago is a pretty terrible pitcher. He's going to be called up from AAA here to make this start for the White Sox. And when this dude has been in the league, he's really struggled, just never been a guy I've been afraid to stack against, especially with right-handed hitters. And the Tigers do have some right-handed hitters that have a little bit of power. Jacoby Jones leading off, I like a lot as a value. He's only 3,500 on DraftKings. This is a guy that does give you some power at the outfield position, and he also gives you a little bit of speed as well. 7 stolen bases on the year, 10 home runs on the year. The Tigers are never a team I usually look to stack unless they're facing a really bad pitcher, and that's kind of the case today. We see it with the run total, even on both sides against Drew Verhagen. If you want to go to some White Sox bats, I think that makes some sense. The White Sox are also very cheap, but I do like the Tigers as a cheap stack. Jones at 3,500 really stands out. Nico Goodrum's only 4K. Miguel Cabrera 3,400. If you're not playing Cabrera, you have Dixon for 4,100. Harold Castro, lefty, not a big fan of that, but he's dirt cheap at 3,300. Candelario, a switch hitter, he'll have the platoon advantage, and he's only 3K. There's just a ton of value in this Tigers lineup, and I think they actually give you a little bit of upside here against Santiago. Santiago is just a really bad pitcher, doesn't really get strikeouts, will give up home runs. Love this spot for the Tigers as a cheap team you could look to. But these are my 5 plays today. For DraftKings, let's go ahead and look at some stacks real quick, then we'll talk about some BVP before we end the video. So my favorite core stacks, teams to pay up for if you can. Indians are definitely going to be number 1 for me today. Love this spot for them versus Gerardo. I will definitely be looking to some Yankees bats versus Wojciechowski. Wojciechowski's been better this year, but this is a tough spot facing the Yankees in Camden Yards. The Yankees are pretty injury depleted right now, but even though they have a lot of injuries, the top 4 or 5 hitters in this lineup still really tough for Wojciechowski with LeMahieu, Judge, Gregorius, Torres, potentially Urshela could be back in the lineup. I do like the Yankees here. Don't know if I'll be playing much at the bottom of the lineup, but the 1 through 4, 1 through 5, I do like from the Yankee side. Definitely want to consider some Red Sox versus Jacob Junis. There's a lot of expensive hitters in this lineup, but if you look to the bottom of the lineup, you can get some value with Brock Holt at 3,400, Mitch Moreland at 41, Bradley at 38. If Sandy Leon's in the lineup, he's a very cheap catcher you could possibly consider. Junis is just kind of an average pitcher. He gives up home runs, and we know how much power this Red Sox team has. So the Red Sox, another stack you could look to. And then if you're looking for some value teams, I think the Tigers, 5.2 implied run total versus Hector Santiago, do give you a lot of value. Looks like Jose Suarez is going to be pitching for the Angels today. That does make the Reds a pretty interesting value stack. They have a 5.6 implied run total. You could definitely consider some Reds bats versus Jose Suarez. I guess that's probably it, though, for stacks. I think that pretty much covers the stacks I like. The expensive 3 teams are the Indians, Yankees, Red Sox, and then for value, I like the Reds, I like the Tigers, and maybe the White Sox as well. But let's go ahead and look at some BVP real quick before we end the video. So starting off with Christian Yelich, he's gone 4 for 11 with a home run off of Steven Brault. Starling Marte really hit Chase Anderson well, gone 15 for 34 with 2 home runs. Miguel Rojas, 4 for 11, 2 home runs off Zach Wheeler. Trevor Story, 13 for 44 with 5 home runs off Zach Greinke. Jake Lamb, 6 for 12 off Jake Arrieta. Evan Longoria, 8 for 19 off Anibal Sanchez. And lastly, Dexter Fowler and Paul Goldschmidt both hit Clayton Kershaw well. Fowler's gone 18 for 48, and Paul Goldschmidt's gone 12 for 54 with 3 home runs. So that's it for BVP, guys. I think that is it for this video. Hopefully you did enjoy this video, and hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like down below. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And if you do have any questions, like always, you can leave them down below in the comment section, or you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT if you do have any questions. But good luck tonight, guys. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it.